Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Timeless 106.1 KFFB's Open Mic program. We do have Dennis Cavanaugh with us again for day number 2. It's the Winter Weather Awareness Week. And today we're going to be talking about winter precipitation types. But Wednesday will be winter weather watches, warning, and advisories, what they mean. Thursday, winter weather safety rules. And Friday, the cold of winter. And Dennis, let's talk about the winter precipitation types. This is something I have a lot of people always every year kind of ask, what's the difference between some precipitations that you talk about? So let's describe those.
Yeah, absolutely. So winter weather precipitation types, they come in 3 general forms. And that's going to be ice, sleet, or snow. And the way you get each one, it depends on what the temperatures are doing thousands of feet, above our heads. So that's what makes forecasting the different winter weather precipitation types so difficult. Is it's real easy to put a thermometer on the ground and know that, we're below freezing in north central Arkansas. It's a lot harder to track the changes 5,000 feet above our heads to know if that temperature has climbed above freezing up there or if it remains below freezing. So in general, if the temperature aloft is above freezing, what happens is you have snow aloft, like way up aloft, 25,000 feet where airplanes fly. That snow falls into the warm layer, it melts, turns into raindrops, and then it falls at the surface where you're below freezing. And it actually, the ice or freezing rain actually falls as rain. So if you were standing outside during an ice storm, you would simply get wet. And that seems really, really strange. You would just be, feeling really, really cold rain. But what happens is the surfaces around you are all frozen. So as soon as that water hits those frozen surfaces, it immediately changes over to ice. And so that's how ice starts to accumulate on power lines, on trees, branches, towers. Even though you can stand outside and just get wet, it won't freeze on you because your body temperature is well above freezing. But the water will fall and freeze on everything else. And that's what we end up calling an ice storm. Sleet, the snow's falling from aloft and it hits a warm layer. But that warm layer is not very deep. So it does turn to water, but as that water falls, the layer before the ground, it's the freezing level is deep enough to where those water drops, they form into little balls of ice. And so instead of water falling outside, if you were standing outside in a sleet storm, it would feel like you were being hit by miniature pieces of hail. So that would be actual frozen precip hitting you. It is ice, but those types of pellets, they won't accumulate on power lines and trees and on towers and stuff. So generally speaking, a sleet storm isn't as bad as an ice storm. Ice storms are catastrophic sometimes. Sleet is almost like snow in that it will accumulate, but since it's an ice ball, once they fall on the ground, once cars drive over them, it basically makes the roads turn into a sheet of ice, and it's really hard for plows to get rid of. So it doesn't take much sleet to make for very hazardous travel conditions. And of course, the easiest precipitation type to forecast is if it's freezing from the ground all the way up to the top of the atmosphere, that snow is never going to melt from the top of the atmosphere all the way down. And we can be very confident that we're going to get all snow. And, again, snow, if you get enough of it, it's going to cause some significant travel hazards. But generally speaking, it's easier for plows to move. It's easier to shovel. And it does create travel hazards for sure. But a lot of times those travel hazards, they're not as long lasting as they are in sleet storms or in ice storms.
Well, that is so interesting. And tomorrow we can go right into that. Now we're going to be talking about winter weather watches, warnings, and advisories. And that's what this stuff all accumulates to, correct?
That's right. Yeah. So, if we see a major winter storm coming, we can have a decent idea of whether it's going to be snow, sleet, or ice, or some combination thereof. And then that's how we can issue, winter storm watches, warnings, or advisories to let folks know how bad we think it's going to be and how much impact we think that's going to have on your local community.
All right. Stay tuned. That's all coming up tomorrow here on KFFB's Open Mic. It's Winter Weather Awareness Week with Dennis Cavanaugh with the National Weather Service.